This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. This is Climate Countdown. Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper doesn't arrive for the climate talks until later this week, but Canada's already become the target of a series of protests here in Copenhagen over its climate record. John Hamilton filed this report.
I'm very pleased to announce that Canada pledges reductions targets of 40% below 1990 levels by 2020 and 80% by 2050.
The news was almost too good to be true. In a video statement on the website EnviroCanada, one of the world's top industrial polluters pledged bold action on climate change and reparations for the climate debt owed to poor countries. In another statement posted to the site, a Ugandan climate delegate welcomed the news.
This is the day that will define our century. Canada is fully acknowledging its historical climate debt and the legal responsibility that follow.
But as it turned out, this news was too good to be true. The announcements were part of an elaborate hoax by a group called Climate Debt Agents, with the help of activist pranksters, the Yes Men. In reality, Canada has abandoned its pledges to reduce emissions. After coming to power in 2006, Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper led his country to withdraw from its commitments under the Kyoto Protocol.
We started by asking ourselves some hard-headed questions, like what are realistic emissions reductions targets for Canada, and how exactly will we achieve them?
Harper's rejection of carbon emissions reductions has a lot to do with the Alberta tar sands. The western province is home to one of the world's largest reserves of bitumen, a mixture of earth and petroleum that requires vast amounts of water to extract, and which consumes enough energy to keep Canada from fulfilling any plan to cut emissions.
All of the easily exploitable large pools of oil, of so-called light sweet crude have probably been discovered. The oil industry will be forced to look harder, dig deeper, and spend more to find crude oil that will be ever more difficult to refine.
I say climate, you say criminal.
Alberta's tar sands have drawn widespread protest and civil disobedience from environmentalists, like Greenpeace activists who temporarily halted production at a Suncor tar sands mine in Fort McMurray, Alberta, last September.
The message we want to send today through our actions is that real climate leaders don't buy tar sands. We're taking action today because we need to send a strong message to world leaders that they need to reach a binding agreement in December at Copenhagen that will not only see an end to projects like Suncor's tar sands projects and other tar sands projects, but also to put the brakes on catastrophic climate change.
When I say shut down, you say tar sands, shut down!
As climate delegates met across town at the Bella Centre, a protest led by Indigenous peoples of Canada outside the Canadian Embassy. Ariel Derringer is a member of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation and a campaigner with Rainforest Action Network.
I'm here today because I want to emphasize the importance of shutting down the Alberta tar sands, because it is the most destructive industrial project on the planet. It is destroying my community. My family in the community of Fort Chipewyan are dying of cancer. The rivers and the lakes are poisoned. It is my people that are paying the price of a select few that get to profit off of our lives, off of our culture. The Alberta tar sands are not only destroying my people and my land, but they are creating the largest CO2 emissions from one single project in the world. Instead of decreasing the emissions in Alberta, we are increasing them at the cost of my family, my community, my culture. My way of life is being destroyed. For what? For oil? For what? For the profit of Canadian governments and corporations? For financial institutions that are making billions of dollars off the backs of my people?
A 2009 study by Edmonton's Cross Cancer Institute found that cancer rates in First Nations communities downstream from the tar sands were 30% higher than expected. Francois Paulette is an elder spokesman with Smith's Landing First Nation.
Where I come from, it's a beautiful land. I come from 160 miles downriver of the tar sands. I'm affected. I'm affected by what is happening in the tar sands. Oil is money. Water is life. And water is being destroyed right before our eyes on our river. I just want to say that Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Harper, the representative of the oil industry and capital of the oil industry in Calgary, that you are killing our river, that you are killing our way of life.
Some of Canada's leading environmentalists and activists who've traveled to Copenhagen for climate talks joined Tuesday's demonstration. Among them, journalist and author Naomi Klein and Maud Barlow, chair of the Council of Canadians and co-founder of the Blue Planet Project.
It's very important that we show our solidarity with the First Nations people here, that they're not alone back in Canada, and they're not alone here. And what we really want to say is that Canada is clearly taking a terrible position here in Copenhagen, having dumped the Kyoto Protocol and committed to way less than we should have, for the simple reason that they will not deal with the tar sands. The tar sands, the oily footprints of the tar sands are all over Copenhagen. Everybody's talking about it. It's not the United States that's the outlaw, it's not China that's the outlaw, it's Canada.
We've heard again and again about what a destructive role the United States is playing in these negotiations. But the real truth is that the most destructive force inside the Bella Center is our government, is the Canadian government. Because at least the Bush administration didn't sign the Kyoto Protocol. And the Obama administration says they won't sign the Kyoto Protocol because they won't follow it. Our government signed the Kyoto Protocol and then made a mockery of international law.
First Nations activists here say those international laws include treaty obligations to communities whose lands have been decimated by Alberta's tar sands. With Prime Minister Harper due to arrive here later this week, Ariel Derringer presented a representative of the Canadian Embassy with a basket full of demands for Canada's government.
We just wanted to deliver this basket to Stephen Harper.
Okay.
So if you could pass this on when he comes to town, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
Would you like me to go over what's inside? It'll take you 2 seconds.
Okay, that's fine.
We handed it off to a delegate from the Canadian Embassy to pass off to Stephen Harper when he arrives in Copenhagen later this week. And inside the basket were copies of the treaties that are being violated by the Alberta tar sands, or by the Canada's tar sands rather, and copies of the Kyoto Protocol, which he signed on to, as well as a copy of the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, to remind him that there is something else that he needs to sign on to in order to really fully respect Indigenous people's rights and to move forward in a comprehensive way with climate change negotiations.
For Democracy Now!, I'm John Hamilton in Copenhagen.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. This is Climate Countdown. We are live in Copenhagen. When we come back, a debate on cap and trade. Stay with us.